Welcome back to Water Watch. In addition to what's being done today to control pollution, the folks at the Port of Los Angeles are creating a comprehensive guideline for the future. They've called it RAP. And here's Dr. Appy to tell us all about it.
The RAP, or Water Resources Action Plan, is one component of the Port's comprehensive environmental policy that deals with the water and sediments in the harbor. And to take us back a number of years, the Port water weren't always as good as they are today. In fact, many years ago, ships used to come into the harbor, and many of the organisms that lived on the bottom of those ships would simply die because of the lack of oxygen in the water. And so that has greatly improved over the years due to the actions of many agencies, including the Port, and also some very comprehensive environmental laws. However, we're now moving into the next step of water and quality and sediment improvement in the harbor, and we're starting to look at more detailed effects and pollutants that come into the harbor. Some of those come from stormwater and other pathways, and the RAP is part of that. It's a comprehensive program developed not just by the Port of Los Angeles, but in conjunction with the Port of Long Beach and also the US EPA and Regional Water Quality Control Board.
Through the RAP, extensive studies are underway to take pollution control to the next level, levels that go beyond what state and federal requirements are at the current time. For example, when it comes to controlling the pollution that's on the ground that may move to the water, considerations are being given to more frequent sweeping, more trash collection, spill prevention measures, and hazardous materials collections. And those are just to name a few. So pollution gets into the water from the ground, but it also gets into the water from the water. What can be done about this? Each year, more than 10,000 cargo and cruise ships make their way into the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach right next door. But there are more than just those boats plying the waters here at the port. We have fishing boats, tugboats, patrol boats, and many other kind of boats in the water on a daily basis. Today we have Frosty with us here from Crowley Marine Services to tell us a little bit about what they're doing with their tugboats to help the water situation here at the port.
Well, Crowley's been very proactive in trying to keep particulates and foreign matter out of the water. We used a closed-loop cooling system on the main engine and the auxiliary, and that prevents raw water that's warm or any other contaminants that may go over the side in the cooling system. We've also are doing a pilot program with the washing machines and using soapless machines. And also, anything that goes into the bilge, we use vacuum trucks to suck out, and that keeps any oil particulates or any other potential contaminants from going in the bay. Our number one priority is to protect the environment.
Even though boats like this are a lot smaller than ships like that, they can still generate a significant amount of pollution. That's why we have programs like the Clean Marina program. And here's Kat Prickett of the Port of Los Angeles Environmental Division to tell us all about it.
Here at the Port of Los Angeles, a lot of people think of us as just a container port, but we actually have a lot of different uses, including our 17 marinas. Clean Marina program has now been incorporated into the larger Water Resources Action Plan, which was approved in just August of 2009. Our marinas and boat owners can do their part to help improve the environment. One of the best management practices that boaters can employ is to use biodegradable soaps, or actually no soaps at all, and just fresh water and a lot of elbow grease to clean their top side of their boats. We've gotten a lot of support from our marinas and our boaters while we've been implementing the Clean Marina program. We're happy to continue that partnership.
So while pollution can get into the water from boats and ships, it also gets there from things in the water that don't even move, like this wood part of the dock. This is called a piling. It's basically part of the skeleton that keeps the docks, piers, and wharves standing. There are thousands of them in the port. Some of them are wooden and some of them are concrete, with more being put in the water all the time. But pilings have to be protected in some way to keep the salt water, and more importantly, the animals that live in the water, from ruining them. For wooden pilings such as these, it takes a chemical called creosote. You can actually see some of the creosote painted on the back piling there. It's that chemical and chemicals such as that can get into the water and harm the animals that call the harbor their home. Even now, the port utilizes plastic coatings such as these to keep the contaminants out of the water and the animals out of the pilings. But what more can be done? That's where the Water Resources Action Plan comes in again. Through the RAP, environmental experts will be looking at ways to protect the pilings well enough so that they don't have to be treated with chemicals in the first place, saving money as well as the environment. The Port of Los Angeles is working hard on the ground and on the water to keep things clean. But what about the pollutants that get under the water? We'll find out more when we return.
Thanks for the ride.
Thanks for the job.
Thanks for the water.
The ocean takes care of us. Let's return the favor. Our most precious resource needs your help now. Go to thankyouocean.org to find out what you can do.
Welcome back to Water Watch. The Port of Los Angeles has an amazing history. Decades of waterside operations, manufacturing, shipbuilding, wastewater treatment, oil production, and more. It's all taken place here, and each activity, as well as those far upstream, have all left a legacy behind: sediment contamination. Up through the 1960s, millions of gallons a day of unregulated waste and chemicals flowed into the port from industrial areas miles inland, which have left their mark in the sediment. Beginning in the early 70s, people started getting serious about controlling water pollution, and that led to the Clean Water Act of 1972. But by then, a lot of damage had already been done. Environmental scientists at the Port of Los Angeles collect and analyze sediment samples on a regular basis at various points throughout the harbor, and that allows them to keep track of any changes. A comprehensive review of all sediment data for the port showed that in most areas of the harbor, contaminants are below regulatory limits and are safe. In many cases, this is because the port has already removed and safely disposed of much of the past contamination. In part, this happened when the port deepened its channels so that today's ships can come into port without getting stuck in the mud. However, there are still some areas of the harbor bottom that have higher levels of sediment contaminants that are acceptable for sustaining healthy sea life in the port. So what's being done now and what's going to happen in the future? Here's Catherine Curtis, the Port of Los Angeles Marine Environmental Supervisor, to explain.
The port conducts dredging for a variety of reasons, including wharf development, channel deepening, and also for remediation of contaminated sediments. And over the last several years, the port has removed a large quantity of sediment from the harbor due to these activities. And this includes some sediment that was contaminated, which removes it from the system, and that's a good thing. However, there are still areas in the harbor that have contaminated sediments. As part of the RAP, we did a sediment inventory and compiled all the sediment data that we had and mapped where the sediment hotspots were in the harbor. There are several different options that the port has for disposing of contaminated sediments once they're dredged from the harbor bottom. One is to remove them from the harbor entirely and properly dispose of them off-site. But another cool option that we have is to actually use those sediments to create new land in the harbor. When the port wants to create a new landfill, we build a rock dike around the area that we want to be land. We can sequester the contaminated sediments deep in the landfill and cover them with clean sediments such that the contaminated sediments are no longer in contact with the harbor water and no longer a threat to harbor water quality. And once we're done, we have new land for a variety of different port uses.
Whether it's on the ground, on the water, or under the water, folks at the Port of Los Angeles are working hard to control pollution. But maybe the biggest challenge is that a major source of water pollution in the port doesn't come from the port at all. It comes from miles away.
This is the Dominguez Watershed Channel, over 100 square miles of some of the largest industrial use area in the city of Los Angeles. Nearly 90% of all the water that flows through this watershed drains to the Port of Los Angeles. And here's Kathy Beauregard to tell us more about the watershed cleanup efforts.
Today we brought people out here and we have them cleaning the access paths of the channel, the banks of the channel, and then we also have boaters out here that are cleaning in the channel and taking out all the shopping carts and any large objects that we have in the channel. So we're basically coming out here and cleaning the entire channel from the water all the way up to the access paths. We have all kinds of plastic bags, there's all kinds of styrofoam cups, we have shopping carts, we have paint cans, You name it, we've found it out here today, and it's really bad. There's a lot of trash that comes out from all of the cities adjacent to this storm drain. The biggest part of this cleanup today is to bring awareness to people of the trash that they put in their storm drains that ends up in the channel. So we have people that in front of their schools, in front of their businesses, that this trash goes into their storm drains and they don't realize it ends up here in this channel, which then ends up in the harbor. The port's been doing a good job. It takes a joint effort between the community and the port. We want to bring attention up channel so everybody pitches in.
And here's one of the big challenges. Even though most of the water and the pollutants that ride along with it end up at the Port of Los Angeles, the port has no jurisdiction or control over the watershed. So the port needs a little help from its friends, and that's where the Los Angeles Department of Public Works Watershed Protection Division comes in.
The Watershed Protection Division program and activities that we are involved, because of the Clean Water Act, which are the federal guidance, we are supposed to make sure that the surface water in Los Angeles River, in Ballina Creek, Santa Monica Bay, and Dominguez Channel, that the water is of the quality that people can actually take benefit from that. The beneficial use of that water is you should be able to swim in it, drink from it, and fish from it. So as a result of that, that's really our core business of how we would go about cleaning the waters in the surface areas of City of Los Angeles.
Keeping the water clean at the Port of Los Angeles is no easy task.
On the land, on the water, and even upstream, miles away, it takes science, technology, and the expertise of hundreds of talented people. Reducing pollution at the Port of Los Angeles is an ongoing process and literally one that will never be completed.
Each and every day, people here at the port and throughout the City of Los Angeles are working hard to clean the air and water so it's cleaner tomorrow than it is today. I'm Sheila Gonzalez.
And I'm Teresa Adams Lopez.
Thank you for watching Water Watch.